Hey, all you cool cats and kittens out there. Welcome back to Anatomy for the week of April 28th to May 4th. And this should be our third week of you and me learning now that we're off the packets. And hopefully we'll be going back to school soon. Okay, so before we start taking a look at what we're going to do this week, let's review a little bit of what we did last week. And we took a look at the action potential last week. So let's take a look at an action potential graph. We typically start at resting potential, that's number one. Our resting potential is negative 70 millivolts, and so there is less of a positive inside and more of a positive outside. At 2, we hit threshold potential, which is negative 55 millivolts. So if the stimulus is large enough, then what will happen is if it gets to negative 55, an action potential will take place. If it's less than 55, no action potential is going to take place and it's just going to stay put. But once we hit that threshold, then boom, all those sodium channels open up, allow sodium to flow into the cell, and we have depolarization. That's number 3. The potassium channels are a little bit slower. So number 4, that's the repolarization. That's potassium flowing out of the cell to help repolarize. We're getting back to normal, but again, those potassium channels, they are so slow, and so they're even slow to close, which causes us to overshoot our resting potential, which leads us to number 5, hyperpolarization. And in that point, we're starting to use the sodium-potassium pump to restore sodium on the inside and potassium on the outside. Okay, so this is going to be the last week that we take a look at the nervous system. The purpose of this week's instruction is to look at the brain. We're going to look at the major structures and what their functions are. Okay, so just like in weeks past, you're going to start with a little internet search, taking a look at some of the structures of the brain, and then there'll be some video notes and some additional work. So let me walk you through that now. Okay, so when this is all finished, there'll be a file here that has this set of instructions, but then you'll see this Brain Basics. It's a Word document that's going to include some websites that you're going to go visit and answer some questions about the brain. Next up, this is the brain video notes. So this is the PowerPoint that I've narrated to include the structures and functions of the brain. While you're completing that, you may want to take some notes, maybe make an outline of the big structures and then their functions and the parts of those big structures, because there's going to be 4 main structures you're going to look at there. Because we cannot do the brain dissection, because we're not in school, there's some sheep brain dissection videos, and there's 3 of them. The first 2 is a part 1 of 2 and then a part 2 of 2. These are actually pretty fascinating. They go fairly well into depth into the parts of the brain. This last one's much shorter, it's quick, but it gets the job done. So you're welcome to watch all 3 or just select one of the 2, entirely up to you, and whatever you have time for. The next thing are some supporting videos. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've been putting that in every week. Just some extra additional help if you need it. I pulled from some pretty awesome sources, like Khan Academy, and these last 2 ones, the 3D anatomy of the brain, it's pretty cool. You may want to check that out if you're bored, because I mean, what else you got to do? Also in the folder, you'll notice this optional extension. This is by no means required, but it is optional if you'd like to participate. So when you go into it, you should hopefully see the Padlet loading here. And if you don't, if you click this link right here, it'll take you to this Padlet. So I'll do that. And when you scroll to the right, whether you're in the Padlet or in its learning, you'll see too far. You'll see that as I scroll to the right, the different diseases are there. I narrowed it down from the usual 15 to about 10. And then what you can do is pick one that you want to do a little bit of research of. And so this research is going to be very similar to what we did for the pathology reports. Look for symptoms, treatment, prognosis, things like that, or a video of personal stories. And then if you click the plus button underneath, if you put your name in the title box and then type something, it could be something like, my grandmother had this. or it could be things like memory loss, or it could be that you want to include a link to a video on YouTube or something like that. Or if you'd like to video yourself, you could add film. So whatever you want, you can add that on here, and it will automatically save. When I click off, it's just automatically saved, and I can't just delete it. If you want to edit, you just click the three dots, and I can edit it and say, oh, I don't want people to know that, and delete it. And then again, when I click off, it'll be there. If I say, oh, somebody already posted that and I didn't realize it, so let me delete mine, I will click OK, and then I've deleted it and it's gone. So I highly encourage you to add to that, especially if you're looking for things to do, but you are by no means required to. If I were you though, you can at least benefit from reading what some of your other peers have contributed, just to familiarize yourself with a bunch of diseases of the nervous system. Unfortunately, with a lot of these diseases, you have to treat the symptoms. There's no overall treatment because the nervous system doesn't regenerate. So it's just fascinating to kind of learn about. But that's my personal opinion. The last thing that you'll see in here will be, next to last thing will be the learning check. That's the one thing that you do absolutely need to complete this week to get credit for having learned about the brain. And then finally, if you are interested in submitting your work, for instance, this Brain Basics, if you want to turn it in, you can submit it here. You can either take pictures of your work, or you can upload the Word document, or you can type in the Word box, whatever. But I will give you comments for sure based on what you submit. Do not feel obligated to submit anything here. This is just if you'd like to share. So I think that about does it. I hope you have a great week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you in about a week. Or I'll see you online when we do our weekly tutorial on the Teams meeting.